Before everything known, in that great beginning where even time had no meaning, there was only noon. Noon was deep, shapeless, and just endless chaos. Then, from the middle of this first chaos, a hill suddenly rose, Ben. This was the first solid ground, the starting point of life. On top of Ben, a golden lotus flower bloomed, and from this magnificent flower, the father of everything, the greatest god of Egypt, Ra the sun god, was born. With Ra's birth, the first light spread across the universe. He was not just the source of light. He was the self-created, the highest of all beings. With a single thought, he created the first gods, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of rain and moisture. However, later, his dear children, Shu and Tefnut, got lost in Noon's huge, dangerous waters. Ra's pain and loneliness at the thought of never seeing them again were so great that the whole universe shook with his sadness. But days later, they returned in a miracle. The huge joy Ra felt seeing them again made him cry bright tears. And from these tears, the first humans were born. They were the living proof of Ra's love and longing. From the union of Shu and Tefnut, the main parts of the cosmic order appeared. Geb, the god of earth, and Nut, the goddess of sky. In that moment, the cosmic order was established. The air, Shu, separated the sky from the earth. Great god Ra ruled the world in this new order as a powerful pharaoh. This was the golden age of Egypt. Ra gave Egypt the source of life, sacred animals, and his greatest gift, the Nile River. On the banks of this fertile river, humanity was ready to build a splendid civilization that praised the gods. Ra sat on the throne as the first pharaoh of Egypt. However, along with his wisdom, Ra carried the burden of a prophecy. His grandchildren would one day end his rule. Because of this fear, he strictly forbade Nut and Geb from having children. But sometimes, fate is stronger than even the will of the gods. Despite the ban, 4 powerful gods were born through the power of love: Isis, Nephthys, Seth, and Osiris. This new generation removed great Ra from the throne, and Osiris took the lead of the world, starting a new era full of prosperity and justice. The title of pharaoh now became a title that would be inherited by mortal kings. Osiris came to Egypt with his sister and wife, Isis, the great sorceress, and gave civilization to humanity. He taught them how to sow crops, harvest, weave cloth, and bake bread, setting the first laws to turn chaos into order. Osiris was a fair and kind king, loved by all of Egypt. The kingdom was filled with prosperity and peace. However, in the shadow of this peace, the poison of jealousy was growing. Osiris's strong and angry brother, Seth, the god of the dry desert, was jealous of Osiris's rich kingdom, his fame, and the love he received. Plus, there was a secret. Osiris had a forbidden affair with Seth's wife, Nephthys, and from this relationship, Anubis, the jackal god, was born, who would later guide the dead. Burning with a desire for revenge, Seth made a wicked plan. He organized a large banquet in honor of Osiris. At the feast, he showed his guests a stunning golden sarcophagus, coffin. Seth announced that the sarcophagus would be a gift for the person who fit inside it perfectly. Thinking it was a joke, Osiris curiously stepped into the coffin. At that moment, Seth and his followers quickly shut the lid, nailed it closed, and threw the great king, drowned alive, into the Nile River. The first king of justice and order was tragically killed. When Osiris died, all of Egypt went into mourning. The deep grief of Isis, the great sorceress, for her lost husband, poured into the Nile River as tears, causing the river's famous life-giving floods. Isis took her loyal sister Nephthys and set out to find her husband's sealed sarcophagus. They managed to find the coffin, but Seth's hatred was not over. This time, he took the body and cut it into 42 pieces, spreading one piece across every district, nome, of Egypt. His goal was to make sure Osiris could never find peace as a whole being. But Isis did not give up. With the power of her magic and motherly love, she brought all 42 pieces together with the help of Anubis. Anubis guided her, and Isis used her divine powers to wrap Osiris's body in bandages, preparing him for eternal life. This was the birth of the art of mummification, Egypt's first and most sacred ritual. Isis succeeded in bringing Osiris back to life with the power of her love. However, he could no longer be the king of the earth. Osiris left the earthly throne for his son and became the god and king of the underworld, Duat. The revived Osiris and Isis had a son, Horus. Horus swore to defeat his uncle Seth, who had taken the throne that belonged to his father. While Seth continued his reign of terror over Egypt, Horus, the falcon god, grew into an adult, vowing revenge and demanding the throne that was his right. In the presence of the court of the gods, led by Ra, an incredible conflict began between Seth and Horus that would last for 80 years to decide who deserved the Egyptian throne. These conflicts were epic. Seth once secretly blinded Horus by gouging out his eyes. However, with the help of Hathor, the goddess of love, Horus's eyes were restored, becoming the famous symbol of the Utzat, the Eye of Horus. Seth continued to use tricks. Horus, though, took clever revenge with the help of his mother, Isis. He hid his divine semen inside lettuce leaves and fed them to Seth. The poisoned lettuce made Seth sick and brought him shame. After the 80-year dispute, the court finally made a fair decision. The throne was given to the rightful heir, Horus. Seth's fate was changed into a different duty. He would now be forced to travel with great Ra on the sunboat, and his angry shouts would be heard as thunder. Horus's rule over Egypt began, and all pharaohs who governed Egypt strengthened their divinity by claiming to be his descendants. Ra's eternal journey and Apophis. Even after leaving the throne, Ra, who had a falcon head and a sun disk on his head, remained the highest power in the universe. His duty was to travel across the sky every day in the boat of millions of years, or the sun boat, to light up the world. At twilight, the boat would descend into the dangerous underworld, Duat. There, it had to pass through 12 gates, each one representing an hour of the night and a challenge. Every night, Ra was fiercely attacked by Apophis, the terrible serpent, who was the physical form of chaos. Apophis tried to destroy the sunboat by swallowing it and ending the light. For the Egyptians, solar eclipses were those moments when the serpent temporarily swallowed the boat. Seth, who was defeated by Horus, now became the protector of great Ra, defending the boat against the serpent to make sure Ra returned safely to the east every morning. Even the god of evil worked for the continuation of the cosmic order. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, is the most important figure in the afterlife. He was first the god of the underworld, but he handed this honorable job over to Osiris, whom he helped to mummify. Anubis was then known as the master of the art of mummification and the protector of tombs. Anubis's most crucial duty was to take the souls of the dead to the underworld and deliver them to the great hall of judgment. Here, in front of Osiris and 42 judges, the soul's heart was weighed in a court. The heart was weighed against the feather of truth and justice, Ma'at. If the heart was heavier than the feather, it meant it was full of evil, and that soul would be given to the terrible creature called Amit, the heart-eater. If the heart was lighter than the feather and balanced with Ma'at, that soul would step into eternal happiness, joining Osiris. Anubis was the fairest judge of that moment, where, in Egyptian belief, there was no second chance.